Friends, have you ever thought that the simple coin sitting in your pocket could actually make you so rich that it could change your entire life? It might sound crazy, but the truth is exactly that. There are coins in this world that look completely ordinary, yet the hidden stories and rare errors inside them make them worth hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. Today, we're going to take a journey through 3 special coins that may appear common, but each one holds a secret that could leave you absolutely stunned. These 3 coins are the 1965, 1970, and 1998 Washington quarter dollar. But remember, these aren't just coins, they're time machines. They're treasures, they're mysteries. So get ready, because today's journey won't be an easy one. It will take you closer to secrets that most people don't even believe exist. And if you're new to our channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Now, let's take ourselves back to 1965. At that time, the American economy was going through a major crisis. After World War II, the world had completely changed. The price of silver was skyrocketing, and the government was forced to make a decision. Coins could no longer be minted in silver. Just imagine decades of tradition, where people collected quarters made of silver, suddenly came to an end. And that was the very moment when fate decided to play its game. The U.S. Mint announced, from now on, quarter dollars would be made of copper and nickel instead of silver. But the story doesn't end there, because during this transition, a few coins were mistakenly struck on the old silver plankets. Yes, that means some 1965 quarters actually exist in silver. And today those rare silver quarters are like buried diamonds for collectors. Now pause for a second and think. What if you had an old coin lying around and you never bothered to weigh it? But what if that coin turned out to be one of those 1965 silver quarters? Friends, at auction today, such a coin can fetch anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. Just a tiny change in metal turned an ordinary coin into a treasure. Here's the detail. A normal copper nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But if that coin was struck on a silver planchet, it weighs closer to 6.5 grams. That small difference, something most people would never notice, is the kind of clue that can completely change a collector's life. That's the hidden secret most don't even know about. Let me tell you a famous story. A man once opened his mother's old piggy bank and pulled out a handful of coins. Thinking they were ordinary, he took them to a dealer. The dealer weighed one of them and was stunned. It was a 1965 silver quarter. That coin was later sold at auction for $52,000. A coin that had sat useless for decades suddenly turned into a dream come true. But friends, the story doesn't stop there. The 1965 quarters also have other errors. Some coins were struck as doubled dies, where the lettering or design looks doubled. Others came out as off-center strikes, where the entire design is shifted to one side. These were just accidents made by the minting machines, but today, those very accidents have turned into treasures for collectors. Think about it. If you came across an off-center 1965 quarter, that coin alone could sell for several $1,000s at auction. And if you found a double die version, the bidding could jump straight up to $10,000. These are the moments when luck and a sharp eye can make someone rich. Here's another little secret. When the 1965 copper nickel quarters first came into circulation, many people didn't even like them. They weren't as shiny or beautiful as the silver coins. But today, even those ordinary copper nickel coins, if they're found in pristine, uncirculated condition, can sell for thousands of dollars? Why? Because over time, they've become rare. Most people spent them, but the ones that survived untouched turned into treasures. So friends, after hearing the story of the 1965 quarter, you can see how a small change can completely change a person's life. But now, the secret we're about to uncover is even stranger. This is the story of the 1970 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it looks like just another coin, but the mystery behind it will leave you speechless. The year 1970 was a mysterious time in American history. On one side, the Vietnam War was shaking the entire nation, while on the other, inflation and political turmoil had people deeply worried. But in the middle of all this, something happened inside the U.S. Mint that would change the world of coins forever. It's said that some 1970 Washington quarters were actually struck over old 1941 Canadian dollars. Yes, you heard that right. Hidden beneath one coin was another coin. This isn't some movie plot, it's real. When these coins were discovered, they sent shock waves through the collecting community. How could this even happen? Was it intentional or just a machine error? To this day, it remains a mystery. When one of these 1970 Overstrike coins first appeared at auction, its price stunned everyone: $35,000. Imagine that, a coin that looks totally ordinary at first glance, but the hidden story beneath its surface turns it into something worth a fortune. Proof that sometimes coins carry entire chapters of history inside them. But the 1970 quarters aren't only famous for that reason. Many coins from this year were also found with doubled die errors. If you've ever looked closely at a coin and noticed the lettering or design appearing doubled, that's the doubled die. For collectors, these coins are pure gold. Their value can range from thousands all the way up to $20,000. Some coins also came out with off-center strikes where the design isn't perfectly centered but shifted to one side. For the average person, that's just a damaged coin, but for collectors, that's a treasure. Off-center 1970 quarters have sold at auctions for as much as $10,000. Another special feature of 1970 quarters is that some of them were included in special mint sets SMS. These coins weren't released for general circulation but were packaged specifically for collectors. If you find a 1970 SMS quarter in pristine condition, that too could be worth thousands. Friends, the 1970 quarter teaches us an important lesson. Not every mistake is worthless. Sometimes a tiny mishap, a small error, captures the world's attention. And that's the magic that transforms ordinary pieces of metal into priceless treasures. Now think about it. What if you happen to have an old 1970 quarter lying around? Have you ever looked at it closely? Ever examined it under a magnifying glass? That coin could very well be the key to a whole new life. Remember, this world belongs to those who pay attention, to those who can find big secrets hidden in the smallest details. And that's why the 1970 Washington quarter is still one of the most debated topics in the collecting world. Some say it was pure accident, others claim it was done intentionally. But the truth, maybe no one will ever know. One thing, however, is certain. If you're lucky enough to have one of these coins, nothing can stop your life from changing forever. Friends, we just saw how the 1970 quarter drove collectors wild. But now, let's move to a time that may seem ordinary, yet hides a strange and fascinating mystery. This is the 1998 Washington quarter dollar. You might think 1998 is pretty recent. How could its coins be special? But the truth is, some coins from that very year created a storm in auction houses. In 1998, America was standing on the edge of a new century. Technology was advancing at lightning speed. The internet was changing the world. And coins were starting to feel like nothing more than a simple tool for transactions. But even then, inside the U.S. Mint, the machines once again made mistakes that today are considered treasures by collectors. The most famous of these is the double die error. If you've ever looked closely at a 1998 Washington quarter and noticed the writing or design appearing doubled, that's the error. Sometimes the words "In God We Trust" seem stamped twice, or the date shows a doubling effect. These details often go unnoticed by the average eye, but collectors spot them instantly. And that tiny anomaly can send the value skyrocketing. Some of these coins have sold for thousands of dollars, and if they're in pristine condition, the price can climb well past $20,000. But that's just the beginning. Some 1998 quarters were included in proof sets, specially made for collectors and never released into circulation. If one of these proof coins happens to have an error, the bids at auction can soar into the hundreds of thousands. There's also another anomaly known as the wide AM variety. On some quarters, the spacing between the letters A and M in America is wider than usual. To most people, it looks like nothing, but to collectors, it's a gold mine. These wide AM coins have sold for thousands of dollars as well. And the story doesn't stop there. Some 1998 quarters have been found with misaligned strikes, meaning the coin wasn't perfectly centered in the press, and the design is shifted to one side. For the average person, that looks like a flawed coin. But for collectors, it's a rare treasure. Misaligned strike quarters from 1998 have sold anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. Friends, the 1998 quarter teaches us something powerful. Rare treasures aren't only hidden in ancient history. Even modern coins can hold mysteries worth a fortune. Sometimes, a coin that passed through your hands just yesterday could be the one that changes your life. So think about it. Do you have a 1998 quarter tucked away somewhere? Have you ever examined it under a magnifying glass? Paid close attention to its lettering, its details? That simple coin in your pocket might just be the treasure collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for. This is the magic of coin collecting. The 1965 quarter shows us how a change in metal composition can rewrite history. The 1970 quarter reminds us that an accident, a simple mishap, can capture the world's attention. And the 1998 quarter proves that every era, every generation, hides treasures. You just need the eyes to recognize them. So now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine, somewhere in your home, maybe in an old jar, a piggy bank, a forgotten drawer, or even in your everyday pocket, could be a coin you never gave a second thought. But that very coin could be the one to change your life forever. That is the mystery, the magic, and the incredible journey coins can take us on. So the next time you hold a Washington quarter dollar in your hand, don't dismiss it as just spare change. Look closely, because it might just be the key to a fortune you never dreamed of.